The battle between Robbie Gordon right now and Roberto Guerrero as they fight for position.
Robbie Gordon in the black car, just exiting the screen there on the right, had a crash this morning. He's in his backup car at this point, and it's an incredible performance that he's giving because he did not get much practice. He's not familiar with ovals. This is only his second oval race, and yet he is charged up to 5th. He's 24 years old, like Paul Tracy, and I think in many ways he's giving an identical performance, albeit back in the pack.
He's in 5th place, but at the moment he is closing on 4th place, Roberto Guerrero. Right now, Paul Tracy is averaging 156 miles an hour. If he can maintain that pace to the finish, he'll be almost 20 miles an hour faster than the lap record.
It's an incredible tribute to Foyt's crew that they were able in a very short period of time to get this backup car set up for Robbie Gordon, and it's an incredible tribute to him that he's willing to push an unfamiliar car this hard, this soon.
The Valvoline 200 now 58 miles into the 200-mile run.
You know, Paul, 156 miles an hour. Do you realize it wasn't too many years ago? That would have been pole qualifying speed here.
I remember.
Now they're averaging it right now.
You and I stood down in the first turn, and we were amazed at 150 because that was such a landmark at the Indianapolis 500. Now look at Paul Tracy as he closes up behind Robbie Gordon, and he has traffic ahead of him.
This is the key. Does Robbie Gordon know Tracy's behind him? He's been looking ahead of him the whole time. Look at them both on the outside.
Way up.
Very dangerous racing here. But when you're driving the kind of race that Robbie Gordon is, are you looking in your mirrors? Will he see Tracy there? We'll have to see.
Two of these new brash young challengers in IndyCar racing now battle with one another, not for position. It is Paul Tracy trying to lap the 5th place Robbie Gordon, and Robbie doesn't want any part of it.
Well, it's going to happen, whether he likes it or not, if he stays on the track, because that Tracy...
Mario Andretti in the pits. This is on lap number 60. So this is pretty close to Mario's scheduled window. They make a change in the front wing. Not much of one, though. Looked like a single turn on both sides. The battle continues between Tracy and Gordon as Tracy looks to the inside and picks him off, just like you suggested, Bobby.
You know, to the people that want to know, one's a Chevy and one's a Ford. That's a Chevy. The last race we saw, it was Ford that it was running the best. So it's changing. They're continually developing these engines, and Chevy just had a big breakthrough in their fuel mapping. In other words, it's all electronic injection and how they map the fuel through the RPM and power ranges. So they've made a gain, Paul.
Just passing over now the 62nd lap, 62nd mile. This is when most of the teams indicated they would try and stop, and it will give us our first best indication of how the fuel mileage is going. As you suggested, Bobby, the new Chevy C engines, there seemed to be a question, but they have been working with it, and since he's gone this far, it's logical to assume it's all solved because he is setting a torrid pace.
Well, we saw in Australia that the Chevys obviously weren't doing as well on fuel as the Fords did, but those guys are all smart. There's a lot of money involved, a lot of engineers, and they're trying to fix it, and they may have her fixed.
You know, there was loose talk during the offseason that Ayrton Senna might be driving this car that Paul Tracy is driving. Well, obviously, Senna's still in Formula One, and Paul Tracy is doing this job, I think, as well as anybody in the world could do it.
You know what that is, though? That is a dream of Emerson Fittipaldi. He wants to bring Ayrton Senna here. But right now, it is Paul Tracy on the pit road heading for Penske service, and here is Jack.
And it'll be a difficult entry because Bobby Rahaal's crew continues to work on his car. He hits the marks and overslides them. The crew goes to work. They are very pleased with the handling capacities of the car thus far. They're only going to change tires and add fuel. Tracy waiting patiently. And the longest part of the stop is the fuel. He engages the gears and lights the tires up in 14.4 seconds. He's away, Paul.
Oh, what a great stop for the Penske team. And throughout the whole thing, you saw Roger Penske there holding down the transmit button on the radio, talking Paul through every inch of this race.
Telling him to use his head. Stay out of trouble. He can win this race. Be careful.
Scott Goodyear running in second. Now he heads for the pits as well as the first service stops are underway. Here's Gary Gerald.
And we watch and wait with the crew. We see the nose of the car. He glides it in perfectly. Hits that mark. The air guns go to work. We're watching to see if they make any adjustments. Nothing at the rear. Nothing at the front just yet. Goodyear now gets a wing change on the right front side. A half turn it appeared to be. Still holding him. Now a quick turn on the left side. Still holding. Now down on the jack. Not a fast stop, Paul. We've got him at close to 17.5 or 6 seconds.
17 seconds on our clock. That would be a 3-second deficit to Paul Tracy on pit stops alone.
Nor was he as fast in or out of the pits, which also affects your performance.
But the Walker Motorsports crew obviously taking it very careful with Scott Goodyear. They want to make sure that he lasts all the way to the end of the run.
Well, his best finish here so far was 10th.
Fittipaldi is in. Now here's Jack.
Emerson Fittipaldi, Paul, you'll recall, was complaining of a boost problem in the car, having a little bit of understeer. He says, I do not want any changes. The boost is okay, and I believe that the racetrack will come to me. So keep the understeer. So they are going to make no changes. He is off and away, and he lights up the tires as well, Paul.
Well, I'll tell you what, another incredible stop by the Penske team.
That was a good sign for the Penske team also, Paul, because they didn't even make any wing adjustments. There were no adjustments made. Now, they might have made some stagger to the tires in the adjustment, but they would tell that ahead on the radio before they came in.
Bobby, there's a lot of stagger run here, isn't there? The outside tires are much bigger than the inside ones.
Yeah, it's just about 3/10 of an inch, Sam.
Yeah.
Robbie Gordon runs in third place. He is doing the pits at any time. That Scott Pruitt and his new ride just in front of him. And we'll keep an eye on Gordon as he's due at any moment.
That's got to be making Ford and A.J. Foyt really happy to see this boy. No practice in that car. They took it out today, put tires and springs on it, the right gears in it, put him out on the track, and away he went. And he's already going good, and he has no experience on the ovals.
Robbie Gordon down low and heads on into the pit, so he will get service from A.J. Foyt's organization as he comes in behind Jim Vasser. Gary Gerald?
And we're right behind A.J. Foyt as he watches very closely. What a different position for Foyt now, pointing to his head as if to say, think, young man, think. We need to clarify. This is the 92 chassis. It's the one that he crashed this morning. They made the repairs. He's familiar with the setup. He stays in it. We watch the clock tick away the seconds. Now he rolls away. 17.1 seconds for Robbie Gordon.
A.J. Foyt, the great champion of IndyCar racing. At Australia, Robbie Gordon told Jack Arute that his boss was Michael Kranifus, but A.J. Foyt has pointed out to all of us, it is A.J.'s team. We'll be back.
Why use Valvoline motor oil? It's the #1 choice.
Phoenix International and sporting the new colors and a new name, the Airship Eagle, piloted by Captain John Creighton, has been providing some great aerial shots of the track down below, and there you see it, where we are still green. Of the track down below, and there you see it, where we are still green. We've been green for the entire 78-lap run, and there's the EDS scoring with Paul Tracy at the front of the field. He has lapped everybody in the field, and that despite his pit stop. Now you take a look, the onboard camera of Arie Luyendyk, who just comes out of the pits. He was running into 8th when he went into the pits. He comes out in 10th. So Arie Luyendyk's trying to stay at the bottom of the order at the top 10, but that was Arie Luyendyk's second pit stop, and as he comes out of the pits, he falls further and further behind as Mario Andretti comes past him.
Now what's happening, Paul, as we watch the race progress, the real fast cars, like the Penske cars, Michael Andretti, people like that, are going for probably a 3-stop race, whereas some of Mario Andretti and some of the other cars, like you saw with Luyendyk, like the Gallus cars, those guys are going for 2 stops. They're cutting back the boost, turning less RPM, and trying to beat them in the pits because they can't outrun them on the track today. So we have 2 different thoughts going so far.
Mario Andretti in 6th place continues to try to stay in the fight. He's being attacked at the back end of the field as well as the front of the field running very, very tight together.
But Mario has not had success passing high. Most of his maneuvers have been down low, and he's gotten trapped quite a few times. And we see a high pass of Scott Pruitt there, but that's been the exception, not the rule for Mario so far.
So Fittipaldi right behind Mario Andretti as they both come around Scott Pruitt. Scott Pruitt, that blue and white car, sits just in front of him. Got a glimpse of it for a second there as here comes Fittipaldi working inside Mario, and it looks like he may get him in another lap or so. 2 former world champions.
That car number 90, they just went around as a new team for this year, owned by Tim Duke right here in Phoenix, Paul.
Kind of a group of renegades, isn't it, Bobby? Everybody they're all from other teams, and they're so happy just to have put a new team together.
It reminds you of the old days of racing when you said, hey, let's go racing, and they figured out a way to do it. Tim Duke normally runs a driving performance school.
The best indication now is that Paul Tracy and Emerson Fittipaldi are hoping for a 2-stop race. That's why they hesitated as long as they did. Now, as we watch Fittipaldi maneuver past Mario Andretti, Fittipaldi continues to run in 3rd. It's not a pass for position there. Fittipaldi's sights are set on Scott Goodyear, who is some distance ahead. Paul Tracy still is the class of this field with a tremendous run. And the Penske cars, best indication, are looking for a 2-stop run. Can they do it?
Well, Paul, I think they're going to be able to do it, and the reason is they're really the class of the field. They're so much faster than the other guys that I look at the scoreboard and I just see they're going to put laps down or put the other guys' laps down, which means that they can make an extra stop, and especially if they find a yellow flag, they'll be home free.
Well, of course, with Tracy, with a lap on the field, that cushion allows him to conserve fuel and keep his tires cool, too.
The number 9 Duracell car, that's Raul Boisel, driving for Dick Simon's racing team as he comes past his teammate, Hiro Matsushita. Or, excuse me, no longer his teammate. Hiro's moved over to the Walker Motorsports team now. And Boisel is current to run in 7th place. As you saw Paul Tracy just wind his way in and out of there just as smooth as can be.
You know, he just sticks his nose under there and says, hey, boys, I'm here. And then he just goes by him so easy. He makes it look like it's first grade against college, you know.
It's great when you have a day like that. That's the day that every race driver dreams for, isn't it, Bobby, when everything just comes right?
It is, and you know, it's really easier for him, and it's harder on the other guys. It's just the opposite of what people might think by watching it.
We run the order for you now. Paul Tracy, then Scott Goodyear. Emerson Fittipaldi is 3rd. Roberto Guerrero is 4th. Robbie Gordon 5th. Mario Andretti runs in 6th place. Raul Boisel is 7th. Jimmy Vasser with a great run is in 8th place. And Al Unser Jr. is 9th. Teo Fabi sits in 10th. And there you see him right there with the leader now beginning to overhaul him. Let's go to Jack Arute.
Well, Paul Bobby Unser was speculating as to how and why maybe the Penske team was able to go for 2 stops. Remember, we alluded to the problems they had in Australia. They changed, Bobby Unser, their fuel card for this race. They feel that they have licked the problems they had with fuel consumption. The report thus far for both Fittipaldi and Tracy, excellent fuel consumption from the telemetry.
Just remember, though, that Paul Tracy has never won an IndyCar race. He's won a lot of other races at the Indy Lights level, but never won at this level. So there's a psychological burden. I'm out front, he's got to be thinking, this could be my race. But there's a lot of pressure. And when you finally break through and you win your first race, chances are you're a lot tougher from there on. But he hasn't won it yet.
Just little things like that with Mark Smith in the 25 car there that can just stop the heart of a race driver. Here he is. He's cruising in top spots, a full lap ahead of the rest of the field, but it only takes one little misstep by any other car and you can be in trouble. That's Jimmy Vasser. He runs in 8th place right now in the Codilux car. That team looking strong for this year. Remember, Jimmy broke his leg last year. I asked him how it's doing now, and he says there's still some screws and things that they're going to take out eventually, but he's feeling very good.
He was a rookie last year, Jimmy Vasser, and he was so popular. Not only did he do well out on the track, but he seemed to earn everyone's respect and affection. A lot of energy behind this man, a lot of people pulling for him, and a lot of them have some money.
A quiet, almost shy smile when you see him away from the racetrack. You would perhaps question whether or not someone who is this nice and polite could be a race driver. But boy, when he gets in that car, at Australia, for example, Stefan Johansson has a problem, rolls to a stop, and this may in fact bring out the yellow. Jimmy Vasser was the fastest Chevrolet engine in the field in the qualifying. He wasn't able to carry that to the end of the race, but he did have an excellent qualifying run. Yellow flag comes out for the first time here at Phoenix with 95 miles complete. So the yellow out as we approach the halfway point in the Valvoline 200 at Phoenix. The field will now close up on Paul Tracy. We'll be back after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Is brought to you by Valvoline. People who know use Valvoline. By Budweiser, the king of beers with that fresh, pure, natural taste. Nothing beats a Bud. By Thompson's Water Seal Waterproofing Formula, the brand to trust for all your waterproofing needs. And by AC Delco Automotive Parts. AC Delco, it's like buying time.
Still under the yellow at the halfway point here in the Valvoline 200. In just 2 weeks, the Indy cars will be on the streets of Long Beach in the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach. Their second run on a road circuit. Nigel Mansell really expecting to be back for that one. But first, we have to complete the run here at Phoenix. The yellow came out for Stefan Johansson. He had a gearbox problem that